If I was ever in office, dude, the Native Americans are getting a lot of back immediately, dude.
Well, they already have casinos.
Huh?
They already have casinos.
Yeah, but did they want casinos?
They loved that.
They were gangbangers.
Yeah, they were gangbangers. Other than the violence, it was like a utopian existence. They didn't even make art, dude. The Comanche didn't make art.
Is it weird though that we feel bad about that? Like, is that a trap? Like, that's what I'm wondering. Does that question make sense?
Well, I mean, is that better than drone bombs in Yemen?
I romanticize things that I don't know about, right? Mm-hmm. Because there just seems like something like, oh, that's romantic or something, you know?
Bro, these were...
Wow. And I heard the Penta didn't even have any chicks on it, dude.
What to do with the business is, people? It's your boy That Way with Jack Travis to be precise, man. You know how we do. You know how we doing it back in the thing again. You understand me, man? Back in the building with another one, man. We're gonna do a little covering of Joe Rogan. You know, Joe Rogan is one of the most popular dumb guys, you know what I'm saying, that we have on these here airways, man. But before we get going, if you like what I'm doing, like, subscribe to the content, give me more on this algorithm, and we'll go accordingly, as I always say. Now, Mr. Joe Rogan, Mr. $150 million contract himself, whatever have you over here with the little podcast company he's got going on. Now, I will say, originally I used to watch Joe's, well, I can't even say that. I would scroll, maybe he was in my algorithm, so I would check Joe out a couple times. He would have a, certain guests that I like tuning into, but, within the last year, Joe has made a pivot to basically being a right-wing conspiracy nut, you know what I'm saying? The people you have on his shows are generally kind of spaced out and got really wild theories about things. You remember a couple months ago he had Terrence Howard on, and I think Terrence had come up with a new formula for making water or something like that. He had become God, and he knew how to, the secrets of the universe. Something stupid. This is Terrence Howard though, but Joe Rogan had him on, and Joe seems to be a easily influenced person, man. I don't know how much research he does. He's got a guy on the show that does research, but Joe often espouses beliefs and things, and he seems to do that right after just hearing someone say it. He's like, oh, yeah, dude. But if you come back with some alternate facts, well, no, look, this was an AI image, Joe. He's like, oh, man, AI is coming a long way, dude. You know what I'm saying? He's one of those guys. In the last year, he's had some dealings with the Donald Trump camp and Elon and all of that. And so, they claim that he played a big role in the outcome of the election. I don't know that Kamala going on there would have made any difference. I don't blame her for not going. Joe seems like a cringe-worthy person to be around, but I ran across this video the other day. It's him and Theo Vin. Just two fun-loving guys, you know what I'm saying? And I just thought it was amazingly stupid, you know what I'm saying? Now, if you follow Joe Rogan, you'd have a long line of these type of clips, man. There's not a lot of constructive material that comes from his show. There's a lot of clip-worthy content. So, they were talking about, the name of the other video is, was Columbus that bad compared to the natives? I don't know how much research you may have done on Christopher Columbus, but he was the Europeans were absolutely worse than the people that already inhabited America and were already doing their things. I don't hold the natives for being any kind of savage. Someone just came into your land and trying to take it over. I think I condone pretty much any kind of action you take against it. You dig what I'm saying? But this was the take that him and Theo Vin had on the whole thing. So let's see what these fellas had to say.
Because they knew that there was no leniency. You're going to be tortured and killed.
Oh, so you had to fight to the death.
100%.
Wow.
Fight
Imagine
to the death.
not being able to surrender because you have no choice but to fight to the death. That's
the
wild.
concept of surrender was completely alien to Native Americans.
Yeah.
They fought to the death, and they fought each other to the death. And there was battles between all of them, and they conquered and they made alliances, and especially Little Bighorn, they all got together and f***ed up Custer. But there's so many different tribes that conquered so many different, and then you'd have to go back to when.
Right, you're like when?
Well, you got it because you killed all these people. Let's go back to the Algonquins. Let's give it to the Apaches. You'd have to figure it out, man. Like this was This was a
You're going to have to tickle a dream catcher to get the truth.
This was really like, in some ways, other than the violence, it was like a utopian existence. It was, these people followed the buffalo.
All right, I'm going to play the race card. I find it a bit offensive that Theo Vin said if he's ever in office, the first thing he's doing is giving Indians reparations, right? Joe pointed out, well, they have casinos. But Theo's like, nah, that's not enough. We still. Now, coming from the demographic that I'm in, and knowing that we're owed some things by this here American government, I'd like to hear him say, man, I'm giving black people reparations first. I would love for that just to be the first thought in his head. Now, Theo is a comedian. I don't know if I've heard anything about Theo having any kind of racist ideology. But I find it interesting that maybe he's trying to say, let's go from the very first beginning. The natives were here. So we took stuff from them and they were already here. So let's start by paying them back and then we'll trickle up to black people that got brought over here and been deprived of this, that, and the third. But I just thought it was a good opportunity to play the race card. Let's continue.
Around, ate every part of it, used their skins to make their houses, traveled on horseback, following them around. They didn't even make art, dude. The Comanche didn't make art. They didn't make anything.
Why, they were just warriors?
Just warriors eating meat. All they did was eat buffalo and kill everybody else.
So if you so is it weird though that we feel bad about that? Like, is that a trap? Like, that's what I'm wondering. Does that question make sense to you?
Well, that was the way they lived. You know, I mean, is that better than drone bombs in Yemen? You know, when we sit here comfortably in this Austin warehouse, is it better? Is that better? No. The whole thing is that Gaza's going on. It's that they're...
What? I'm not even sure I follow this line of argument. So Theo interjects and says, well, does that make it worse? Like, I don't know, Joe said that Indians don't even do art. I'm almost sure I've seen some Indian depictions on some cave walls and the teepees and the totem poles. If totem poles aren't art, what are they, Joe? You're telling me you've never seen a piece of Indian art in the entirety of your life? That's gotta be false. Why would he even say such? Then Theo, without any pushback, Theo was like, well, does that make it worse? I don't even know what he's asking. Does what make what worse? The fact that they didn't do art and they had stuff taken from them by the white man, does it make it worse that they didn't do art? Like, what is the point? I don't even understand where we're going with this thing.
They're using these poor Ukrainians like meat for the Russian war machine. The whole thing's crazy. It's all bad. But the crazy that was going on back then was a one-on-one crazy.
Okay, so we went from Indians not doing art to... Is that just as bad as sitting in this studio in Austin to people sending Ukrainian soldiers to a meat factory? What is Joe Rogan talking about?
It's a different kind of crazy. It was like there was an understanding that if you saw somebody and they had horses or they had these, you're going to go kill them and take that thing from them. And if you knew that there was a camp and the camp was over the top of the ridge and they would be in bed at night, you would come in the middle of the night and slaughter everybody.
Oh, yeah, sneak them.
And they did that to each other. So it was a horrific way of existing.
Because sometimes there's this vision that you romanticize that culture, right? I do that a lot. I romanticize things that I don't know about, right? Mm-hmm. Because there just seems like something like, oh, that's romantic or something, you know?
Bro, this was a culture of warriors.
It was hide and go seek for real.
It was a culture of warriors. Like,
bro, hold on. Theo Vin said, you know, there's this thing where, you know, you kind of romanticize this thing. You know, I do that a lot, dude. I romanticize these things, and, you know, it's because, you know, because they're like romantic, dude, you know?
It was a culture of warriors. Like, this whole country was filled with nomadic warriors. Yeah.
Wow.
And most of them got killed by smallpox. That's what's the crazy.
Oh.
Most of them got killed by the flu and all sorts of diseases that came over with the Europeans.
How gay must that have felt, dude? You're a warrior, right? suddenly you get a
Some
couple
dude
of
sneezes on you at the depot.
Like,
You go to the trading depot to drop off some skins. Some dude sneezes on you, and that's a wrap.
yeah, you're like, you've been training all day, dude.
Fuck.
And some guy.
Now let's understand what they're laughing about, right? Like, dude, is it so funny that you're Indian Comanche warrior, dude? You know what I mean? You've been training your whole life to fight and keep off invaders and killing people, dude. And then you get a couple of bumps on your arm, dude, that eventually kills you. Like, mind you, those diseases, those bumps that appeared on their skin, on the skin of guys that were gearing up to fight foreign invaders, those bumps and those diseases came from foreign invaders. So even though they didn't put their hands on the Indians, which they killed a lot of them by hand, the fact that they killed them by diseases that they brought to a country that did not belong to theirs is nothing to laugh about. There's nothing funny about that.
It just doesn't wash his feet for half an afternoon.
Or just came here off a boat. Yeah. Stinky bitch was breathing air and drink water. You know? Like, dude, can you imagine the hygiene on those boats?
Oh, Columbus's ship. It was like the first Burning Man, dude. That place was a dump, dude. I heard the Penta didn't even have any chicks on it, dude.
It's like, there's an example. Columbus is an example.
Could you have done it?
Oh my fucking God. Who in the world would have told Theo Vin that the Penta didn't even have any chicks on it, dude? What would that have to do with the cleanliness of the ship? Maybe he's saying, okay, I guess from the chauvinist standpoint, if they had women on the ship, they would have cleaned the ship up more. What is the point? Someone told, he didn't read. He didn't say I read. I watched the documentary. Someone told me there weren't any chicks on the Penta, dude.
I mean, probably if you lived back then, that would have been the thing to do because you would have been bored.
But it's early morning.
You would have
couple guys
wanted
show
to
up.
try. You would want to try to see what it looks like to go across the ocean. If you're a young man and you just needed something in your life and you knew the dudes did it, and you just eat beef jerky for 3 months and you make it across the ocean, and when you get to the other side, there's gold everywhere. They didn't even know where they were.
Yeah.
But if you read the accounts, there was a priest that traveled with them, some sort of religious man that traveled with them. That kept like a detailed diary of the horrific things that Columbus's men did. They bashed babies on the rocks. They They told certain men that they had to give them their weight in gold, and if they did, they would chop dudes' arms off in front of everybody. They enslaved these people and used.
Why? Theo Vin says. Well, because they were European colonizers, and that's what European colonizers do, even up until this day. Most certainly back then. That's how they started it with the Romans. Fast forward up, they never stopped. Why? Why did they bash babies on the rocks and kill people and infect them with disease? Well, that's because that's what they do. Theo, you could go around right now and ask that very question right now today. And they hadn't stopped, Theo. Why? Oh my God.
Them for their gold, because these people had no use for gold. They didn't know how valuable gold was.
You mean when they got to the Americas?
Exactly. Wow. Exactly. Yeah.
People
they just slaughtered people. They just slaughtered people, dude. There's horrific depictions of what Columbus's people did.
I romanticize nature so much, and it's really vulgar, isn't it?
Well, it's just.
Look, Theon, I've got news for you, sir. It's some conditioned behavior. You know what I'm saying? It's a learned behavior. This romanticization of all manner of nefarious activities that has taken place over the years. Since like the rise of Rome, man, yeah, just about the Crusades. I could name countless times where it's romanticized by a certain particular part of our population. You understand what I'm saying? Now, it's up to you to figure out why in your own understanding, Mr. Theon. I understand why it is. But yeah, it's a lot of bad things that have happened to a particular groups of people by the hands of another group of people that when you read about them, it's just like the most, it was the most humane thing to do at the time. It was something that would benefit humanity going forward. It wasn't as bad as it sounded, We had to go and explore. You had to go and see what's on the other side. No, you didn't. It wasn't your land. And even when you did, when you got there, you should have turned around, took your ass back home. But there's such a, they need to civilize the population. They had to civilize the natives. There's a huge romanticization of a lot of nefarious events by a particular group of people, as far as you can go back. Theon.
Just humans have always done this to each other, and for all of human history. The strong groups of men with weapons invade people that aren't prepared, and they take all their stuff and they conquer them. I mean, it's always happened. It's the most common thing. If you go back and look at history, there's a bunch of common things. There's an increase in the complexity of architecture and the design of the cities. There's machines. All these different things improve. But along the way, the consistent thing is war. It's constantly happening from the beginning of time. As early as we know, tribes were battling other tribes. And back then, when there wasn't that many people, wasn't that many resources, and you were competing to see whose genes spread, it's just natural. You develop tools and weapons, and then that's ingrained in our DNA. So here we are in 2024 with iPhone 16s and Starlink, and we're still locked into this tribal war mindset because that's how humans evolved.
Right.
And that's the scariest thing about being alive today, is that we're so advanced, we're so much more civilized than at any other point in human history, and yet same amount of people, if not more, are dying senselessly all the time.
Right, like we're civilized on the outside, but there's a part of us that will always be uncivilized.
Yeah, well,
is that the part of the human experience of human nature? Is that the part that will forever keep us tribal? Just the fact that we evolved from being a warlike people or what have you. I don't think that's the nail on the head. I think there's something else that would point to, and let's be fair, what people are he talking about? I don't know many other groups over time that you could attribute to them that they brought war and savagery and colonization. I don't know that you could put that on any other group. Name me a group. Was it a Spanish group? Was it an African group? Was it an Asian group, an Icelandic group, an Australian group? Name another group of people that we know went around the globe, or went everywhere that they touched, they took over and destroyed. I don't know that that's just a natural progression of the human species. It's something that's exclusive to a particular group. I don't know if Joe is prepared to speak on that. You know what I'm saying? But to say that this is just like, this is just inherent to humans, colonization, taking over, killing and maiming and renaming. To say that that's just a part of human nature is a non-starter. It's a misnomer, man.
Part of it is war, right? And other parts of the world are not as calm as us. There's parts of the world that are very dangerous.
Yeah.
There's places of the world where you can't go without getting robbed or shot.
Yeah,
there's
Memphis, first of all.
That thief, I didn't even hear this. Oh my God. So, Joe Rogan says there are parts of the world that you can't go to without getting robbed. Now, the way you put those two together is kind of weird. Like, there are certain places that you would go where you would definitely get robbed. Flawed logic. But then Theon out of nowhere says, Memphis, Tennessee. Now, I suspect that Theon doesn't have a lot of experience with Memphis, Tennessee. So it begs the question, where would Theon get this stat from? What would bring Memphis, Tennessee to the front of his mind, speaking on a place where you can't go without being robbed? For me, keeping up with the culture, you're talking about Young Dolph, and there's been a couple other incidents. I hadn't heard of many robberies coming out of Memphis. Now, unless Theon has an inside line to the low-level crimes in Memphis, okay. But the crimes that the general world has heard about from Memphis, people that don't live in Memphis, it's been like murders, shootings. Why would he say Memphis is one of the places that you can't go on earth without being robbed? What brought Memphis to Theon's mind.
Is Memphis that bad?
Memphis is bad, dude.
That's where Elvis came from.
Huh?
Isn't that where Elvis came from?
And he left,
Has it changed?
too.
Where's Graceland?
Actually, Graceland, you know what's crazy about Graceland, dude? It's
What?
in Memphis. And it's cool. You go out, they let you in the backyard after the smoke, and Elvis's grave is right there.
You could smoke right in front of Elvis's
You can
grave?
smoke 17 centimeters from Elvis's grave, or 80 centimeters.
That movie, that Elvis movie was so good.
Which one? The one
With
about
Tom
his
Hanks,
girlfriend?
where Tom Hanks plays the Colonel. You didn't see that one?
Oh, yeah.
With that dude, what is his name? Austin?
Colonel
What's the
Winters or
fella's
whatever?
name that played Elvis? Austin Butler is really good.
Yeah,
man.
that was
he nailed it. He was really good. You really believed that he was Elvis. What a crazy story.
Yeah.
It's the type of story, it's the type of thing we've come to expect from a Joe Rogan podcast. Him and Theon just knocked this one out the park, man. Like, again, there's no shortage of ignorant clips and ignorant conversation to be had from the Joe Rogan podcast, man. It's I can't say it's becoming embarrassing because it doesn't represent me. I'm not a fan. I'm not a listener. I see a lot of things in my suggestions, and they're always pretty dumb, man. You know, always something to laugh at and kind of opine on. But yeah, I don't know what even sparked this. This was obviously a part of a longer conversation. When Joe has people on, this at least like 3 hours. So this was 8 minutes. So of course there was a larger conversation. Pretty much, I'm sure most of it was just as dumb, but yeah, that one stuck out to me, man. There was a couple of gems in there that I didn't catch when I skimmed through it the first time, but yeah, just more chuddery from Joe Rogan, man. So felt like that was something I need to bring to my people, let y'all put your eyes on it. So until I come back with another video, man, this has been That Way with Jack Travis. Until then, I'll get it y'all soon. Loud.